I've decided. I felt like the last one wasn't gonna really didn't go too into depth, and it was hip hopping a tiny bit. So I took it down and I decided let me just go ahead and wait a bit. I want to wait and make a full guide, a full review about Vanguard and everything wrong, the good, the bad, the very terrible about it. So I have a little spreadsheet next to me on my phone because I typed out everything I needed to say. Oh, forgot the volume. I needed to type out everything I needed to say on my phone so I won't stutter, I won't backtrack or get too distracted, and I can make it as straightforward as fucking possible so none of you get confused. Of course, if you do like the video and you do have any opinions about Vanguard as a whole, if any of you played it that is, go ahead and leave them down below. Let me know what you think of the game in general, and as always, I hope you enjoy. So, let's start about the campaign. Let's talk about when Vanguard first released. Back in November 5th, 2021, Vanguard first came out. Alongside it came multiplayer zombies and of course, campaign. Obviously, this is normal for most Call of Duties except Black Ops 4. Sorry, Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 had no campaign, that's why I said sorry, Black Ops 4. But anyways, campaign felt unique. In my opinion, I felt like campaign was a bit unique. Of course, it was a bit short. In my opinion, it felt a bit short. Nothing like too big. But at the same time, it felt a bit breathtaking. Not breathtaking in a way, but like it felt cool. You had four main characters this time. This time actually, they all came with a unique ability. You had Roland. Not Roland. You had Arthur Kingsley, which was a British soldier, and his ability was to command his troops to attack a certain position. Wade, who was an American pilot, his ability is to focus, and what focus did was it would just give you aimbot. That's basically it. It's not bad. It's actually pretty okay. You snap from one enemy to another after you kill that enemy. Basically, it hip hops between enemies after you kill one another. Polina, a Russian sniper known as Nightingale, had two abilities actually. One of them being she could crawl through tiny spaces faster than others, and she could climb walls. Of course, that was on select missions that had walls to climb, that is, but nonetheless, it did expressively go through these abilities and kind of a good way. Most of the missions that you did with Paulina did have these abilities, and they did utilize them. Then you had Lucas, an Australian demolitionist. I think the abilities speak for themselves. Basically, what that meant was he could carry 4 grenades in a single. Yeah, he could just carry 4 grenades and then blow things up. Pretty fun. I like that ability, to be honest. You can carry things like C4. Well, I forgot the name of it, but I'm just going to call it C4. You can carry C4, grenades, thermite grenades. You can carry Molotovs. Basically, anything you wanted, you could carry. Except for tacticals. Tacticals didn't get that ability. They just stay the same. It was only for the grenade slots, aka the lethals. But yeah, that was his ability, and that was actually pretty cool. I liked that one too. Those were the 4 main characters that stuck with you, and they made a bit of an impact upon the story. They had their own personality. Paulina was supposed to be this stone-cold sniper who didn't feel for her enemies, and she did just killed out of coldness because of what they've done. Wade is supposed to be like this, somewhat of a jokester type. A bit of a ballsy one. He's supposed to act a bit ballsy with some of the things he did. In my opinion, Lucas Riggs, however, was supposed to be like this funny guy. He was supposed to be funny, I think. That's how I portray him, in my opinion. I feel like he's supposed to be this funny type. He's supposed to be there for like comedic relief. And then Arthur Kingsley is supposed to be like this leader style. That's how they portrayed him in the game, and that's how I see him as well. He's supposed to be a leader. And that was the campaign. The campaign felt a bit light. Well, not long, but a bit short, sweet, to the point. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. It does offer some replayability replayability. It does offer like for you to come back and do it again. But that was the campaign. And a quick disclaimer, I will not be going over multiplayer because I do not have much time spent on multiplayer. I do have some time on multiplayer, and if I were to say anything about it, the only thing I would say was it was decent. It was nothing like too big or anything like that. But yeah, that I guess that's just multiplayer in my opinion. It didn't feel like much to me. I just said, it's something that I randomly go to sometimes if I do get bored. But anyways, let's delve into zombies real quick. This is the gritty part. This is where everything goes downhill. Zombies was a massive fucking failure from the start. And I'm not sorry for saying that. You can hate me all you want. Zombies was definitely a big failure. It definitely flopped the moment it was dropped because they stuck to the Outbreak version of zombies. Instead of going back to round-based, they decided to experiment a little bit and decide, hey, remember Outbreak from Cold War? Yeah, what about it? Bring that fucking shit back, motherfucker. We're doing it again. And of course it failed. No surprise there. The community did not like it. There was no Easter egg. There was no wonder weapon. There was bugs. There was no server pause. There was no pause in general. I mean, you could pause, but the game would still continue. So if you count, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, that was the problem with zombies. It flopped. It had no pause, and it offered zero replayability. It did not have much to offer on the table, nor did it have the necessary things on the table required to keep you coming back for more. I played it sometimes, but I went back to Cold War. Of course, over the line, March 23rd I think about a few months after, March 23rd, server pause was added along with Season 2 when it dropped. So that it took quite a while to add it in. That was kind of good. But when I looked at the tweets, apparently server pause was only available for 2 hours and then you'd be kicked. Which was another issue. You couldn't pause and take a breather for as long as you wanted. They wanted, basically, I guess they just wanted to force you to keep playing without stopping. And the way they did that, well, they made you pause for 2 hours, and if you didn't come back within the 2 hours, you got kicked. I don't know if that was fixed, but hey, it was something. Nothing big, but it was something. Of course, the perks are a bit different this time. We're going to delve into that right now, actually. The perks are different. The perks have been changed. Of course, they're all the same if you do play a lot of Call of Duty, that is. You can definitely tell where I'm going to go with this. You have Diabolical Frenzy. Basically, it means you increase headshot damage, aka critical damage is what it's called in this game. But I prefer to call it headshot damage. You have Venomous Vigor, boost regen speed, which is basically like quick revive from Cold War when you upgrade it. Forgot which tier, but different. It dropped all of that shit. And yeah, basically it just stuck to the regen side of it. You have Demonic Frenzy, basically speed cola, but with a different name. Basically all it did was boost your reload speed. You had Ethereal Haste, stamina, but different name. Self-explanatory, you just run faster. And you had Fiendish Fortitude, where you upgrade your health by 50. Basically Juggernaut, but with extra steps. And the reason why I say tiers is because, as you can see on the bottom of my screen, there's 4 tiers to these perks. One being the lowest, and tier 1 being the free one. And then that was the change. They changed it from starting off with 2,500 points for the first perk, dropped that, and changed it to the first tier you've got was free across all 5 of the perks. That was actually, in my opinion, a pretty good thing. I like that. It started off from tier 1 being free to tier 2 being 2,500, then 5,000, and so forth. 5,000 and then 75,000 for tier 4, which was the max tier. There are 4 tiers across all 4 perks, and of course, 4 was obviously the best. Scraps did return. They did return. Scraps back in Cold War offered you a variety of items such as score streaks, lethals, grenades, and you could buy self revives, you could buy armor, you could upgrade your weapons here. They dropped the weapons here. They kept the armor, but they dropped the weapons here. No longer do you have weapons here, so you don't have to waste salvage on that. Well, it wasn't much of a waste, but still, you didn't have to use salvage to upgrade your weapons. This time they dropped that in favor of keeping the Pack-a-Punch. I think that was in favor, actually. I just call it in favor. They dropped They dropped the weapon tiers. So now all you have to do is walk up to the bench. You can scroll through. You have your armor, lethal, tactical, and support. Of course, there's only three support types, being self-revive. You have the death machine and the grenade, the war machine. Now on to the artifacts. You had different types of artifacts. They did return back from Cold War, but with a twist. They all had their own personality now. No longer were you stuck. No longer did you just load up a game and go, all right, time to choose this. All tiers did have benefits to them. And of course, we're going to dive into that real soon. But first, let's go over the sacrificial hearts. Sacrificial hearts are a different type of currency alongside of scraps. They do not work as scraps. They work a bit different. Sacrificial hearts worked with the tome ritual, and the sacrifice, the tome of the artifacts. What I mean is, basically, the tome book was used to upgrade your artifact, and there were 5 tiers. Tier 1 being the lowest, like I said, and Tier 5 is obviously the highest. Basically, you could use these hearts to upgrade from Tier 1 all the way up to Tier 5 and call it a day, and it was permanent. It was permanent until you came back to zombies. And then this thing over here, the Altar of Covenants, offered different types of things. You had with different rarities, white being normal, then blue, purple, and orange being the highest. And this thing would reset every time. But of course, now that Shinonuma has dropped round-based, it works the same way, but you'd have to wait for it to reset after you get a sacrificial heart, which in my opinion does not typically work well. I do not like that. I do kind of wish it was changed a bit, but it's meh. I don't use that much artificial hearts. I kind of like to wait anyways, but that's just my opinion. Of course, you do still have progression. You do start off with absolutely nothing, and you work your way up. You start off with Tier 1 of these artifacts, and you work your way back up. There are five artifacts instead of the normal. There are less than in this game than there is. You have Frost Blast, Energy Mine, Ring of Fire, Ether Shout being the normal ones, and Healing Aura returns. But Healing Aura was actually changed a bit. Instead of healing the player 50 by 50, it healed the player to full, and it does keep all of the normal attributes from the Cold War. But the change that was added was it healed the player to full instead of 50 by 50, making it a bit better than Cold Wars. And that's actually pretty cool. I like that. Of course, these things do have their own little demons, like I said they did. The Horn of... Basically, what I mean is... Verkana was Healing Aura, Aether Shroud was Belikar, Ring of Fire was Invictor, Energy Mine was Syraxis, and of course Frostblast was Nordicus. And they all have their own little personality. Veronica is in my opinion, feels like a motherly type. Nordicus feels like someone is like supposed to be a demonic leader, soldier type. Invictor was supposed to be this go all in and kill shit type of demon, and then Syraxis was to be this somewhat sarcastic yet I think semi-funny, in my opinion. It feels like she's supposed to act like a comedic type, calling us her playthings and shit like that. I don't know. I guess she's supposed to be a bit of a... I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, those are the 5 type of characters that went alongside with the artifacts. They gave them a bit of personality instead of just being there to help you. They give you a bit of... They give you personality throughout your gameplay. They talk to you. They interact with you. They say... Verkana says stuff like, watch your back, seedlings are all around you, etc., etc. And yeah, I feel like that was a bit of a... I feel like that's pretty cool. Now we're going to go on to the the downfall of zombies again. We're going right back into it. This time for the Easter eggs. When zombies first released, there were no such thing as Easter eggs. There was nothing to do. There was nothing. That was an issue. That's what I meant by there was no replayability for zombies. There was nothing to do. You just sat there and did nothing. There was no round based. Like I said, no Easter egg either. And that was a problem because, in my opinion, I felt like round based could have been added in the next season, but it wasn't. Instead, what they did was for round based, they added it as a void objective. They brought back round based, but you still had to do missions to get there. So not only did you have to waste some time doing missions and actually getting to the void objective, if you died any time in your game, you had to do it all over again. So not only would you waste around 30 minutes or so getting to that mission, ultimately if you downed and you died, you lost everything. And there was also no camo. They didn't add camo for Pack-a-Punch either. Your gun just stayed the same. Of course, that wasn't too much of a big issue, considering that camos, well, they just offered visual to the gun, but still they barely offered much content. They didn't offer anything in particular for that. Of course, everything was added down the line during the update. They brought in round based for Daron Fong and of course Terra Maledicta. I think that was the name of the second outbreak version of the second zombie outbreak side of the map. And of course, that was kind of a good thing. And like I said, they brought back server pause, but I already talked about that, so yeah. But yeah, basically they added in all of these things during the next update. They would fix some of the server issues. Of course, zombies was highly unplayable in my opinion because of the lag, the crashes, and the yeah. Basically it was hard for me to actually do any type of zombies gameplay because of how many bugs there were. I played at launch. I'm not gonna shit on them because of it, but I'm just saying if you're gonna launch, like, there was so many bugs, it was hard to play, especially for the high rounds. So that was a bit of an issue in my opinion. I guess it was either just my internet, but yeah, in my opinion, zombies was a massive letdown until season 4. We're delving into that right now. Season 4 rolls around, and of course comes Shinonuma, another remaster of the map, and of course came a new area, the dig site, which I'm currently in. The dig site offered a connection to 2 sides of the map, and you could avoid opening one of the doors if you chose to, which saved you a bit of points, but not too much. But it saved you a bit of points, but not that much. It wouldn't make much of a difference anyways. The dig site is basically where the Pack-a-Punch and the crafting table is. You have the ammo box over there. And the Wonder Waff is back. As you can see, the Wonder Waff was brought back once again, and it was in select maps. It was in Shinonuma, which is this. It was in COD. It was Call of Duty World at War version of Shinonuma, Black Ops 1 version, Black Ops and Black Ops 3 versions of Shinonuma. And it was also in Call of the Dead, and we are not going to talk about the remastered Call of the Dead, which is tagged there on Toten. We are not going to talk about that. That is a mistake. That was a massive mistake. We are not going to talk about that version of the Wonder Waff. I refuse to. But yeah, it was brought back once again, and this time, instead of having to gamble for it in the box, which you still have to do if you did choose to, if you were in co-op, but they brought it, you were able to get it from the box if you bought it after round 10. So after you craft it and one person has it, after round 10, everyone in the party was able to get it by gambling it in the box. Which was one thing they did, they were considerate about it. They were like, which was cool. Everyone in the party was able to have a Wonder Waff, and the Wonder Waff is actually pretty satisfying. And this time they brought it in with a new small addition, which wouldn't make much of a difference. Basically, what a small detail I mean is, if you listen very closely, you can hear the glass shattering. And I will play that clip. I will play that for you right now. Let me turn up the volume.
The rune chain is now active. You may use it to withdraw from combat.
And if you heard that, that's basically the small detail they added. And it was pretty satisfying to hear. You could hear the glass shattering. I don't know if that was available for the old ones because I never heard it. But yeah, it's a very small detail that, in my opinion, does feel really cool to hear whenever you're reloading. And of course, it does have this really nice inspect where you pull the glass out like you just saw. But zombies, this was the somewhat redeeming part of zombies. It brought back round-based. It fixed a lot of issues that the community had about not there being any round-based zombies. And in my opinion, this was somewhat of a saving grace. Many people felt off. Many people didn't like the remaster, I guess, because I've seen somewhat hateful tweets. But I don't care about that. In my opinion, I felt like this was pretty cool, and I enjoyed seeing it. But out of everything I just talked about, the perks, the salvage, the sacrificial hearts, everything, if I were to give zombies as a whole, or Vanguard as a whole, a rating, I would say a 4 or 5 out of 10. It was okay, but it wasn't great. It flopped. There wasn't much content offered. There was barely any any events, which I'm not going to just talk about either because it doesn't matter. I'm talking about gameplay wise. I do say that Vanguard felt like a 4 through 5 out of 10. But yeah, that is my full-on fledged review. Oh, I forgot one thing. The ray gun was added, but it was shit. And then it got a buff. But yeah, that's basically everything I needed to talk about. The crafting table, the salvage. There is only one type of salvage. Small detail I chose not to talk about because it's just salvage. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy today's video, I do hope you guys did enjoy. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys... You're a 4 out of 5 out of 10. And as always...